That radio chick Cheryl Lee here. Welcome to the Still Rocking It podcast, where we'll have music, news, reviews and interviews with some of our favourite Australian musicians and artists. We caught up with lead singer of the Whitlams in between a very extensive tour promoting his new album Kookaburra with the Whitlams Black Stump. We caught up with him in the Zoom room and he wasn't very well. So thank you, Tim, for having a quick chat with us, even when you were feeling poorly. The Whitlams, Australian indie rock band formed in 1992 with Tim in the original lineup on keys and lead vocals. To catch up on podcasts from other favourite artists, simply go to thatradiochick.com.au. I'd like to welcome into the Zoom room today Tim Freedman from the Whitlams, formed in 1992. 4 studio albums in the top 20 ARIA albums charts. Torch the Moon #1. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Cheryl.
The Whitlams, named after former Prime Minister Gough Whitlam. Where did that decision come from?
It was just a very humorous decision back in 1991 to be upstarts and name yourself after a very famous and influential man when we were just 3 scrappy musicians at the local pub. So people used to see the name written on the chalkboards and get a laugh. And it worked very well for us because it's a big name and an earthy Australian name. And that's sort of what that's the band's aesthetic as it developed with the double bass and the acoustic instruments at the start.
So you got onto Whitlam's coattails, in other words.
Yes, I must say we did. They sent some people over to make sure we were being respectful. And so we formed quite a friendly relationship with the family over the years.
Really? Awesome. There's been a little bit of a reformation in 2022 with a country offshoot called the Whitlams Black Stump. There's a new album out and some show dates coming up, which we'll talk about in a little minute. But if you don't mind, I just wanted to know a little bit about Tim Freedman. For instance, when did you realise that music was your destiny, Tim? Was it in your DNA? Is your family musical? How did all that start for you?
Oh, gee, my dad was a broadcaster, so he used to do what you do. He did it for the ABC. He had a big music show that went out nationally. So there were always new records arriving on the front doorstep because the record companies would send him their albums in the hope that he'd play them. And my mum's grandfather owned music stores in Western Australia after he emigrated to Australia from Wales. So there is music in my DNA. And so I was always had a piano teacher from the age of 5, and it was always just my hobby. And I got really serious about it when I was about 23, when I sort of was finding law school boring and I thought I'd follow my dreams.
And the rest is history.
Thank you, it is. So I've never regretted it, put it that way.
So you never really had a plan B to fall back on?
No, a bit of a lifer.
Clearly, your lifetime passion. Could have always gone back to law, I suppose, but being a rock star is a lot more fun.
Well, it's nice to be your own boss, let's put it that way.
There's a massive history of the band, but one thing that caught my eye was when you guys did the 2017 Symphony Orchestra Tour. That would have been an amazing experience. You did it in each capital city with a 50-piece symphony orchestra behind you.
That was a project that developed over quite a few years. We first did a big orchestral show with West Australian Symphony in 2004, and then we did it with all the state orchestras in 2009. So we've generally done it every 6 or 7 years, and because the show's developed over 20 years, lots of different composers have written arrangements, people from the esteemed Peter Sculthorpe to some younger cats. It's a good show. I've got a secret ambition to do it again in the next year or two because it's a bit of a blast and I'm always trying to give the audience something different every few years.
Excellent. You heard that first here, folk. You got the scoop. Well, you guys must have been one of the very first to do that. Like recently, I've seen Russell Morris and the Angels, but you were trendsetters, I reckon.
We were actually the first ones to do it nationally. I think, Elton John had done something similar, but we were the first sort of Australian indie band to step up and be that ambitious, yeah.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
It certainly does add another dimension when a band plays with the Symphony Orchestra. From Truth, Beauty and a Picture of You from 2008, the Whitlams keep the light on live with the Sydney Symphony Orchestra. And back to speak some more to Tim in a sec.
I'll always keep the light on for
ask you, when you get a bit of time to yourself, Tim, and you can have the opportunity, what do you like to listen to?
Well, these days, we're so lucky as consumers. You can just go down little byways and highways through your algorithm, and I'm tending to listen to sort of American folk and Americana stuff that's helping educate me with this new project, the Whitlams Black Stump. And I like the Cinder Williams, and I like Iron and Wine. So generally sort of folky stuff. I also listen to a bit of jazz. I'm not against listening to a bit of Debussy late at night. You know, like a lot of musicians, I have pretty broad tastes.
Very nice. Do you have a non-negotiable on your rider? When you're on tours, there's something that you just have to have in that green room?
We've actually been getting far more moderate as our career has moved on. So it's really just, bottle of red and 12 beers and some water. We don't like to run around and throw our weight around and make the poor theatre owners of Gunnedah run around looking for brown Smarties or anything.
You're pretty easily pleased then.
Well, yeah, we just we like to keep it simple on the road these days.
Let's get to it then. Kookaburra, the new album, it is a little bit country. We all do like a little bit of country music. How did all of that come about, the change, I guess, in genre?
I started listening to country radio when I was touring solo because I was told they were playing the Whitlams. And so the idea just festered in my mind, and I was playing country towns a lot, just solo, in between the lockdowns in 20 and 21. And I happened to know Matt Fell, who's produced lots of golden guitars. So he put a band together for me in the studio, and we all got on in the same lineup, still just finished our third national tour.
And just in the middle of another one.
Yeah, we've sort of finished the 5-piece band shows, but Ollie and we play in the duo configuration a lot in the smaller towns. We're doing Echuca, for example, which is probably the closest we get to you, I'm afraid. But hopefully we can go out and do a regional South Australia sometime in the future.
I was going to ask you about the Adelaide date because from later this month, you're going everywhere, man. In New South Wales, all over New South Wales, all over Queensland, Victoria. Fingers crossed we'll sit with bated breath awaiting an Adelaide or South Australian date. That'll be awesome.
It might have to be next year, I'm afraid, because we played Noarlunga and the Gov just about a month ago.
So it won't happen again overnight, but it will happen.
Exactly.
The 1988 ARIA Awards winning Song of the Year got a makeover.
Indeed, it's a bit of a campfire classic now with a lovely banjo motif. It was a ballad, but it's got even more space now.
Still Rocking It podcast with that radio chick Cheryl Lee. Here it is now, No Aphrodisiac, the important song that originally came out in 1997 and turned the band into a going concern overnight. As I said, ARIA, Song of the Year, #1 in Triple J's Hottest 100 in 1998. Here it is. In 2023, it gets the Whitlams Black Stump treatment. Back to talk to Tim again soon.
There's no aphrodisiac like loneliness. You shouldn't leave me alone.
How did you record the album? Because these days, it's not like you all have to get into the studio and play the instruments at the same time anymore. What was the process that you went through to record Kookaburra?
We actually do it that way. We like to do it the old-fashioned way.
Old school.
Yeah, all 6 of us were in a big studio in Sydney, and we get the rhythm tracks down for about 11 songs, and then I'll chip away at some top levels or some exotic sounds with the producer one-on-one. But in the first instance, we like to sort of develop the songs as a group, chat and discuss, and take about 3 hours a song, which is quite efficient, but they're all pretty, experienced session players.
They know what they're doing.
Once we've decided on the feel, it's not a long process. Although then it takes me 2 years to chip away at it and finish the lyrics and write the harmonies and all that stuff. I do get very picky in the second half of the process.
It may change with each album, I'm not sure, but with regards to Kookaburra, what comes first? Do you play the songs live and see what goes over well and then plan the album, or you plan the album and then you play it to a live audience?
The Kookaburra was the latter. We sort of recorded the album and then we developed the live show around the album. But the next album, which I'm starting to write now and which will have more original songs, I'm not sure how that will go. I suspect it'd be nice to be able to throw a few songs into the live show, but I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work with the recording schedule and the touring schedule.
There's no sort of real hard and fast plan that you follow each time. Each one is sort of a little bit organic.
Indeed.
Also in 1998, that song that we were talking about that's got its makeover. Congratulations. Best independent release for that album, Eternal Nightcap, and best group that year as well.
Big year.
Yeah, congratulations. And I've counted them, correct me if I'm wrong, 11 songs featured in Triple J's Top 100.
Yeah, they were always very kind to us in the 90s. Sort of were responsible for our career in a lot of ways because us getting a lot of airplay on Triple J corresponded with them going national. So it allowed us to get out of New South Wales.
I did have one more question. I think it's just gone out of my brain. Oh, you know what? I rush home in my lunch hour, do the interview, and then rush back to work. So that's why I sometimes seem slightly frazzled. Oh, that's right. I reckon, and it would be at least 10 years ago, the last time I saw you, I think, was at A Day on the Green. Would we see you guys at any more of those sorts of festivals as the Whitlams Black Stump?
We are starting to play some festivals. We're playing the Gympie Music Festival in August. We're playing Savannah in the Round in October. And then it's really just about getting the right offers. One of the reasons I'm doing the Whitlams Black Stump is to play to new audiences, and that's worked so far because, you know, the Whitlams four-piece would never have played the Gympie Muster. So it's working. And, if we get the right offers, we'll be there in a heartbeat.
I would imagine we'll be seeing you at Tamworth.
We've done Tamworth twice. We're giving it a miss this year.
So the year after.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you're a very, very busy man, and I'm sure my 10 minutes is up. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us in the Zoom room today. I know you're not feeling 100%, so I appreciate you having the chat with us. All the best for the album, all the best for the tour. If you can get a South Australian day, I shall see you down the front.
Thank you, Cheryl. Bye for now.
Thank you. Ta-da.
See ya.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
So one of the songs that I would have heard the Whitlams play at A Day on the Green, I know because it's from the A Day on the Green Celebrating 10 Years album, Blow Up the Pokies.
And I wish I knew the right words to make you feel better. Walk out of this place.
Quick edit to this podcast. He's a very secretive man. Good boy, he didn't tell. No sooner will the Whitlams Black Stump finish the Kookaburra album tour. The Whitlams have just released details of another tour. Love This City, 25 years, the entire album. This new tour will start in October. Melbourne, Sydney, Canberra, Hobart, Brisbane, Newcastle, Perth, and Saturday, 7th of December at the Gov in Adelaide. I will see you down the front. You're with Cheryl Lee, that radio chick. Thank you so much for joining me on the Still Rocking It podcast. Hope to catch you again next time. Get out when you can, support Aussie music, and I'll see you down the front.